Okay, so welcome and good morning to your English tenses, the topic of our Grammar 3 lecture. So many people have this misconception about tenses. They always mistake tenses with forms. Well, remember in the verb of your English language use, okay, verb is not essentially just an action word. There are so many types of verb, and those are the types of verbs which we covered last week during your grammar 2, the subject verb agreement. All right. So grammar 2 was about your subject verb agreement. Grammar 3 will be about the different sentence construction of your sentences relevant to tenses. And then your grammar 4 is your modal verbs and conditionals. So if we're going to put things into perspective, literally, we have 7 grammar lectures, not counting the grammar lecture for your grammar for IELTS, which makes it a total of 8. Now, if 3 out of 8, almost half, okay? Almost half of our grammar lecture is dedicated to verb, understanding the verb, learning about how to write the proper forms of the verb in relevance to the sentence structure. So that is how important this is. So imagine all of your sentences will have a subject. All of your sentences will have a verb. And it is a necessity for us, test takers, because both in our writing and on our speaking subtest, grammar is being assessed. So imagine all your sentences, all your statements, all the speeches that will come out of your mouth during your test, okay, will have at least one subject and one verb. So we want to make sure that all those subjects and verbs will be correct. So first of all, what is tenses? So tenses, we are referring to a timeline, okay? So we want to know when the action happened, all right, whether it already happened or it will happen. Now, people will tell me, so sir, we have 3 tenses, right? Because you're talking about the past, you're talking about the present, you're talking about the future. Actually, that is the misconception that I would try and give you a basic idea about right away. All right. The tenses are not just your past, present, and future. They are the forms of the verb. So each verb has their own past, present, future, infinitive, singular, plural forms. But when it comes to tenses, we are referring to, okay, the timeline, the specific instance when the action happened, when the action occurred. All right. So we have 3 for each. So imagine for present alone, for the present time, okay, we have your simple, we have your continuous, also known as the progressive form of the verb, okay. We have the simple, continuous. We have the perfect, and then we have the perfect continuous. So imagine that. Imagine just by understanding the present tense of the verb, we need to understand the simple, continuous, the perfect, and the perfect continuous forms respectively. So just for the present alone, how many tenses are there? We have already 4 types of tenses for present. Imagine for your past, you still have your simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. Your future also has 4. So in total, many people would say that, oh, sir, so you mean to tell me that the tense is 3, past, future, and present. Actually, no. We have 12 types of tenses out there. We have 12, all right? We have 4 for present, we have 4 for future, and we have 4 for past. And that is what I am going to cover today. All of the English tenses in grammar that you need to know so that when conditions allow during your writing and speaking subtest, you would know how to use them accordingly. So without further ado, we shall get right into our discussion right now. So the simple present form of the verb. So it's very simple. You just need to get the subject, all right? You just need to get the subject, and then you add the verb. The verb should have this agreement between the subject. So if your subject is singular, the verb should agree to the number of the subject. So if your subject is singular, then your verb must also be singular. Same goes with plural form. Okay, so if your verb is if your subject rather is plural, then your verb must also be plural. Now here's the thing. Let me cover everything here. Okay, let me just cover everything here first. All right, I'm just going to write something regarding this type. Okay, the problem with the basic, okay, subject verb agreement is not about the verb, because it's so simple. If your verb, if the singular verb, you just have to add s or es. All right, s or es. So if my verb is sleep, the singular form will be sleeps. If it is go, it will become goes. All right, or eats. Even your connecting devices, even your connecting verbs, even your be verb, your possessive verb, even the do, it has the do or does. All right, so if it is singular, all I need to do is to add es. If it is singular, all I need to do is to use has. If it is singular, I'm going to use is. So it's so simple. If it's singular, you just add s or es to the verb. Now the problem for the basic subject verb agreement is not about the verb. It's not about the verb. It's about the subject, because the subject in your subject verb agreement sometimes are very confusing. All right, the subjects sometimes are spelled out with letter S, but they are regarded as one unit, like mathematics. So even though it ends with S, it is still considered singular. Therefore, I need to use the singular verb is. Okay, that is the case. So, sir, where can I learn more about this subject verb agreement, about the nuances in the subject, about what are the forms of the verb that I need to use to make the subject and the verb agree? Well, that was covered during your Grammar 2 replay lecture last week. So if you're having trouble with the simple present form of your verb tense, number 1 of our topic today, then I suggest that you watch the recap of that video. So it will always be at 9 a.m. All right, I will be posting the links of our lecturers. I will be posting the link of our live sessions. I will be posting the links of our replays at 9 o'clock. So just make sure to be active on our Facebook group so that you will not be missing anything. Same goes with your Discord channel. So I want you to check them as often as you can. So that is the idea. You just have to get the verb, all right, to agree with the subject. So if my subject is bird, bird is singular, so I'm going to add s to my verb, which is sing, bird sings. Now, if the bird now becomes plural, then my action word, which is sing, will now remove its s. Birds sing. That is the idea. So what about another? Child plays. The child plays video game. What about if the child is in plural form? So the children play video game. All right, that is the idea. All right, so you have to understand whether the subject is singular or the subject is plural. Then you are going to put it together with a verb that agrees with it. So if it is in singular form, remember, it is always spelled as either with S or ES. Sometimes you need to change Y to I and add ES. Sometimes you need to change F to V and add ES. That is the case of the spelling, but it is simple to understand that the simple present form of your verb tense, if it is in the simple present form, it always ends with S or ES, the verb. The only problem we have here is the subject. Okay, so you have to remember that. So now, I have examples here. You speak English. So you is your subject. You, I, they are special cases of pronouns. So you is considered plural. Therefore, you see that the S here, the speak, does not contain an S. Do you speak English? Remember, if your verb contains this special action word, do, all right, if whether it's do or did or does or doing, if it contains any form of the do verb, all right, do, does, did, doing, all the verbs after this should be in the infinitive form, meaning you will not add S or ES anymore. All right. Do you, does Kevin eat ice cream? Does the child go to school every weekend? Do the flowers bloom? So you don't add S or ES anymore, even though the subject is plural or singular, because of the existence of this word. So this is another case, okay? So don't be confused about this one. If you see a do, if you see a does, if you see the word did, doing, any type of it, all the verb, whether the subject is singular or plural, will be in its base form. So sir, what about the singular plural form? Now, it will be carried by the do verb itself. So if it is plural, do the children. So children is plural, right? So that is the reason why do is the verb used. Does the child. So it also has an ES. Okay, does the child eat? So it's correct because it is in the infinitive form. It is already, this word already has the ES, so you don't have to add S here anymore. That will be wrong, okay? So does the child eat vegetables, for example, to complete our sentence here? Now, the main question many people has, all right, is when do we use the simple present form? What are the occasions that will prompt us, candidates, writers, and speakers, to use the simple present form of the verb? So we have variety of uses. Number one is for repeated actions. We use the simple present to express that the idea, okay, that there's an action which the speaker or the subject is bound to repeat. The action can be a habit, it can be a hobby, a daily event, a scheduled event, or something that often happens. It can also be something a person often forgets or usually does not do, with the attachment of the negative word not or no. Okay, so example, I play tennis. She does not play tennis. Does he play tennis? All right, so we're using the word play here because tennis is an action, and this is a habit that a person does. This is a hobby that a person does. So therefore, we're using the simple present tense. The train leaves every morning at 8 a.m. Sir, I have a question. Why are we using the train leaves every morning at 8 a.m.? It is not yet 8 a.m. for tomorrow. So I am referring to the schedule. All right, I'm referring to the schedule. Remember, if it is a scheduled event, I repeat, if this is a scheduled event, in this particular example, public transportation, and this is a scheduled event. When you say scheduled event, it will happen on schedule. It will happen every 8 a.m. It is a repeated action. So even though it is not yet 8 a.m., which is future in a sense, okay, since this is scheduled, you will be using the simple present form of the verb. Train is your subject. This is singular. Leaves is your verb, which is singular. How do we know that this is singular? It ends with S or ES. The train leaves every morning at 8 a.m. The train does not, sir, what about this one? Your leave does not contain an S anymore. Why? Well, it is still correct because the verb do, which is in its singular form, does, now carries the load of the simple present tense. Okay, so she always forgets her purse. Always, take a look at that. Always, it is constantly happening. So if you are going to use keywords like always, all the time, consistently, it means that you are referring to a habit. You're referring to a hobby. You're referring to an activity that occurs very often. So if that is the case, that is the sense that you want to put in the idea of your sentence. Therefore, you need to use your simple present tense. Okay? So we're very clear about the use of your simple present tense. Number one, the first use is for repeated action. It is always happening. It goes on schedule. It is a scheduled event. Even though it's not yet happening now, it will be happening in the near future. You will be using this because this is a scheduled event. Remember that, okay? So next one is facts or generalization. All right, facts or generalization. You are giving an information. You are giving an information. You are giving an information. You are stating a fact. You are generalizing ideas. If you are doing either of those things I've mentioned, then it also requires the use of your simple present tense of the verb. So, take a look at this. Cats like milk. Okay, it's very simple. Cats like milk. Sir, I have a concern. I own a cat. Okay, I own a cat. But my cat does not like milk. All right, this sentence is a misrepresentation of my cat. Guys, remember, all right? It is not important if the speaker is correct about the fact. What the important thing is, the speaker or writer believes that the fact is true. And if that is the case, you have to use the simple present tense, the simple present form of your verb. So, birds do not like milk. Again, sir, I have a bird and my bird likes milk. Again, this is overgeneralizing. I'm just stating the fact that I know. All right. Do pigs like milk? California is in America. That is a fact. California is not in the United Kingdom. That is also a fact. Windows are made of glass. What if it's not? It's okay. It's fine, even if the fact is not correct. What's important is that the speaker believes it to be true. All right. New York is a small city. Remember, guys, New York is a huge city, one of the few known mega cities in the world. And this person has the audacity to mention that New York is a small city, which is not true. Remember, it is not important that this fact is untrue. We need to use the simple present tense if we think we are generalizing, if we think we are stating facts. And when do we generalize? When do we state facts? In your writing task 2. We are going to generalize the events. We're going to give examples. We are going to make some fact statements. We're going to add information and details that we know are true. So we need to use the simple present tense. That's why this is important. And this is included not only in this lecture, but on your previous lecture for your grammar 2 tenses. Oh, sorry, grammar 2 subject verb agreement. Okay, so that is the use number 2 of your simple present tense. We shall now proceed with the third use, scheduled events in the near future. Again, we were referring to the train leaves every morning at 8 a.m. A while ago. That was one of our samples. Okay. But take a look at this. Speakers occasionally, I'm not saying all the time. All right. The word I'm using here is occasionally. All right. So the speakers occasionally use simple present to talk about scheduled events in the near future. This is more commonly done when talking about public transportation. Again, public transportation, most common. Okay, this is where we most commonly use the simple present tense when we are referring to a scheduled event. Okay, but it can also be used with other scheduled events. Let's say you taking your exams, okay? Or you will be doing your groceries tonight, okay? Something like that. So just remember to include the time, okay? To include the time and to include the time expression. So take a look at that. The train leaves tonight at 6 p.m. Okay? The train leaves tonight at 6 p.m. Number 1, that is a scheduled event. Number 2, that is a public transportation. Therefore, we use the simple present tense. The bus does not arrive at 11 a.m. It arrives at 11 p.m. So that is another use of your sentence utilizing the simple present tense. When do we board the plane? The party starts at 8 o'clock. Again, this is not just with the use of your public transport. Take a look at this. The party, that is not a public transport, but that is a scheduled event. So that is the reason why we use the simple present form, the simple present tense of the verb. Once again, when does the class begin tomorrow? All right, the class begins tomorrow at 9. So that is a scheduled event. In the near future, it is included in our simple present form. Now, we also use, remember this, we also use the simple present to express the idea that an action is happening or not happening now. Guys, one of the crazy parts in understanding the progressive tense of the verb, which is what we're going to refer to later, is the concept of the word now. Okay, later we will be paying attention with this word, but for this idea, we're referring more into the always, usually, constantly, happening all the time, okay, dilemma. So now is mostly used for the progressive with the continuous verb tense. All right, we're using the now more often, but we also use the simple present tense even with the word now if the word or the verb type that we're going to use is non-continuous and certain mixed verbs. Well, you know what? Verb is an element of the language that has a lot of forms, that has a lot of types, okay? So just to give you an example. So we have the regular verb. When you say regular verb, we can form the past version of it by just adding the or ed, like want, it will become wanted, all right? Carry, it will become carried. All right, so that is how we use the regular verb. Now, it changes radically if it becomes irregular verb. We will now change the form from, let's say, sleep into slept, or go, it will become went. So you see, it is now a completely different word. We changed the whole word entirely. That is the irregular verb. But we also have this non-continuous verb. We also have the mixed verb. We also have the connecting verb. We also have the possessive verb. Okay, so there are so many types of verb. We have modal verbs. We have the conditionals. So there are so many types. But remember, we will be covering everything. Okay, we covered some parts of it in the previous lecture, and we will be covering the modal verbs on your next grammar lecture, Grammar 4. We're going to talk about the modal verbs and conditional. So what are these non-continuous verbs and mixed verbs? So this this underlined word is actually clickable. All right. I will be sharing the link with you later after our lecture. So together with your handout, with your activity, and the list of non-continuous verbs and mixed verbs, what are those words that can be used for the simple present tense, even though we will be using the word now, which is specifically designed for the other tense, so that you can identify it yourselves. So there are a bunch of lists of these verbs. I can convert it into a non-copyrightable form that I can attach during our lecture later. So I will be doing that after the lecture. I'll be converting this lecture entirely into a PDF. I'll be attaching the link because of copyright issues. If I can convert it into a Word form or a PDF, I'm going to do that as well, and your activity. So I am here now. She is not here now. He needs help right now. He does not need help right now. He has his passport in his hand. Do you have your passport with you? So as you can see, the non-continuous verbs and mixed verbs that we are using for this type of use number 4 with the use of now is only using the be verb. When you say be verb, it has its, it has its, all right, its form. So for the present form, your be can be is, all right, are, is, are. Sorry, it's difficult to write using my laptop because I don't have a pen. And am. Am is only used for the I pronoun, okay? So you have your is, are, and am for your present. You have your was and were for your past. And then you have your modal plus the be, that is equivalent to the feature. So we use certain verbs, including non-continuous, including mixed verbs together with the word now, okay, or at this moment, at the moment. All right, those are the words that can refer to the non-continuous, okay, plus these regular verbs right here to form the simple present tense, okay? So that is the 4th use of your simple present. Do you guys have any questions before I proceed to my present continuous form? Okay. No one's asking questions? Are you guys sure? Okay. All right, so guys, if you are sure, then we shall proceed right away. So on my next cover, this will be your am, is, and are. Okay, take a look at that. The present form of your be verb. Okay, so again, you have your be verb, and your be verb is the infinitive form. If it is going to be the present form, you are going to use either am, that is a special case for the pronoun I. You have your is for singular, and then you have are for plural. And therefore, we will be adding another verb that is in the present participle. Okay, so question is, what is this present participle? Guys, this is so simple. You just have to add I, N, G at the end of the verb. So let's say Kevin. Kevin is my subject. All right, Kevin. And then Kevin is singular. I will add is because is the singular verb. And then I will add the verb that ends in ing is watching TV. My mom is cooking lunch. What about plural? The students are learning grammar. What about am? I am talking to you right now. So that is how we create the present continuous form of your verb by either picking between the three. Am is are. Am is so simple. You just have to understand that if your subject is the pronoun I, that is the only time you can use the am. And then is for the singular subject, are for the plural subject, plus verb that ends with ing. Take any verb. Eat will become eating. Work will become working. Sleep will become sleeping. Light will become lighting. Slip will become slipping. Push will become pushing. Pull will become pulling. Listening, reading, writing, speaking. Those are the present participle of your verb. You just have to attach ing at the end of it. Sometimes you will repeat the last consonant. Let's say nap will become napping. Hit will become hitting. Sometimes you will remove the E. Shake will become shaking. Leave will become leaving. Hate will become hating. So, but remember that every single one of them must end with ing. That is the present participle form of your verb. Now, the real question is, when do we use the present continuous form? In which occasions are we going to use them? What are the uses of it? All right, so the first one is with the use of your now. Okay, so now, with the use of your now. If you have a now, okay, if you have a now, or if the context of your sentence contains a now, then you will be using the present continuous, the present progressive tense of your verb. Okay, if it has a now. Okay, so we're going to use normal verb. So what is normal verb? This is the term that we use for verbs that we can see the action. Let's say I can see that the student is jumping. So jump, that's included in the normal verb. Or yawning or dancing, anything that can be seen. All right, that's a normal verb. So again, non-continuous, mixed verbs, those are separate entities that I will let you study later after the lecture. But now let's focus on the use of your present continuous. So we have your now, okay? If your discussion, if your sentence, if your speech, if your statement contains a noun, okay? It contains a noun, you're going to use a normal verb, a verb that has an action, any action at all, sleep, eat, run, hide, anything that can be seen, that can be felt. So you will be using the present continuous if it has a noun, okay? Now, I'm using the word, okay? Now, that is the first use if it contains noun. What about your second use? Longer action, okay? Listen to me carefully, okay? When you say longer actions in progress, longer actions in progress. I repeat, longer actions in progress. You started an activity, any activity in the past. You are still doing, still in progress of doing that activity until today, and you're not yet finished. You're not yet finished and you don't expect yourself to finish this activity soon, then it is included in our use number 2. Longer action in progress. So imagine, okay, I started doing exercise at 8 o'clock today. And I don't see myself finishing the exercise until 10 a.m. today. And then my mom called. What are you doing now? And I'm going to tell her, I am exercising now. I started doing that sometime in the past. I'm still in progress. I'm still doing it. And I don't see myself finishing that in the future. Now, this one, still in progress of doing that activity. It doesn't necessarily mean, take a look at this, does not necessarily equate that you are actually doing that activity at this very moment. All right? Okay, here's an example. You were walking, okay, and suddenly you bumped to your friend at, let's say, McDonald's. All right, so here's you, and then here's your friend. Okay, so you bump to each other, and then your friend asks you, hey, what are you doing now? What do you do? Are you studying? Are you working? And then you say that I am studying. Take a look at that. You're in the restaurant, and this is how you will answer. I am studying. I am taking up the course medicine. I am studying. I am taking up the course medicine. But sir, that is a concern because both my friend and I, okay, are not studying literally. We are in a restaurant. We are in McDonald's. Lagyan natin ng M para makita niyong McDo nga ito. Oh. But I'm not literally studying now. Yes, that's the point. And I hope you get this. All right? You are not literally reading a book, attending a class while you're inside the restaurant where your friend and I bumped into each other. You started taking up the course medicine. You studied 2 years ago. You are still in the process of studying. You're not yet finished. It's still included with your use number 2, longer action in progress. All right? Okay. In English, remember this. In English, now can mean this second, today, this month, this year, even this century, and so on. So the connotation of the word now is very vague. Okay, now can be today. Now can be this decade or this century even. So we use now for situations like this. So take a look at some examples that I have for you today, guys. Okay, so I am studying to become a doctor. Not literally doing it right now. Okay, I am in the process. I'm not studying to become a dentist. This is a negation of the idea with the presence of the word not. I am reading the book Tom Sawyer. Am I literally reading the book right now? No, because nagkita tayo, let's say outside. So I'm reading the book. I am in the process of finishing the book, and I don't see myself finishing that in the next 2 weeks or so. All right. I'm not reading any books right now. Are you working on special projects at work? Aren't you teaching at the university now? So those are some samples for the longer actions in progress with the use of are now. Okay, near future. Sometimes, guys, take a look at this. We use the near future for the simple present tense. But we will also be using the present continuous to indicate that something will or will not happen in the future. Okay, I am meeting some friends after work. I am not going to the party tonight. Is he visiting his parents next weekend? Isn't he coming with us tonight? So your simple present, tense with the use of your future indicates a schedule. Okay, take a look at the difference. But your future use of the present continuous indicate whether or not the action will or will not happen. I am meeting some friends after work. This is indicating that this will happen. Okay, this is a plan. I'm not going to the party tonight. This is a plan. Is he visiting his parents next weekend? I'm asking about his plans. Isn't he coming with us tonight? I'm asking about their plan. So for your simple present, with the use of your near future, we use it for scheduled events in the near future, especially public transportation. But for this, the use of your near future is for plan, whether or not the activity will or will not happen. So next topic will be the repetition and irritation with always. Okay. So, sir, I thought that the word always is only reserved for the simple present tense. Yeah, some of you might get confused. That is how grammar is. That is very confusing. There are rules, but there are some objections to it. There are some changes to it. So always, constantly, what else? All the time. This is not only reserved for the use of your simple present. Okay. If you are using, listen carefully, if you are using your always plus the present progressive. Okay, take a look at that. Always. So whether it will be am always, is always, are always. All right. Plus verb ing, always eating, always raining, always talking. That means that there is an irritation to the idea. Take a look at this, okay? Listen carefully. So, I am always eating sweets. I hope that I don't crave for sweets anymore. It means that I'm not happy about this. I'm irritated. There's a negative emotion inclined to it. It is always raining. I hope it stops because my clothes are having trouble drying. Okay. They are always talking. They're always gossiping they're always gossiping about their classmates. So it means there's irritation. There is a negative emotion. She is always coming to class late. He is constantly talking. I wish he would shut up. I don't like them because they are always complaining. So if you put always, constantly, all the time, plus is RM, plus your verb that ends with ing, that means that there's an irritation, there is a negative emotion. Okay? So the difference between she always talks about her cat versus she is always talking about her cat. This one, she always talks about her cat because she loves her cat. All right, but this one, she's always talking about her cat. She doesn't talk about anything except her cat. So there's a negative emotion included in that. All right, with the use of your always and constantly. That is why whenever you do your essays, whenever you write some samples in your essays, when you see always, when you see constantly, and it is inclined with a negative emotion, I suggest that you use this. But if you are using your always, constantly, all the time for habits or hobbies or activities that are occurring constantly, like I always play tennis. I always forget to bring my bag. So use them properly. Now, present perfect form. Guys, before I proceed with present perfect form, do you have any questions with your simple present and your present continuous? All right, remember guys, if you have questions, feel free to raise your hands, okay? And you may unmute yourself if you want so that you can participate in our lecture today. All right, present perfect form. Okay, this one is quite tricky because it says here that it's present perfect, yet we are going to talk about the past. An event that occurred in a time before now. So to make things simple, an event that occurred before now is an event that occurred in the past. So sir, if I will be using the present perfect form of the verb, I need to have this formula, all right? And your formula is, look, your formula is has, have, plus your past participle. Let me repeat myself. For you to use your present perfect form, you need to use has or have plus past participle. All right, now we're talking. I'm going to use this as an example. Go is the infinitive form. Goes, that is the present form singular. Go, that is the present form plural. Went, that is your past form. Going, this is your present participle. And your past participle is gone. All right, gone. So I also have some samples here. For example, take for your past form, for your present form, takes for your singular, take for plural. So the past form of take will become took. The present participle will become taking. And then the past participle will become taken. So take a look at this, the last two words. Your past participle is not your gone, is not your go, is not any of the words before it. Your past participle are the words gone and taken. So even in this case, see, all right? The word see, look at this. The word see, all right? The past form is saw, S-A-W, and then the past participle is seen, including the N. So I will not be using saw because that's wrong. I'll be using seen because that is correct for the present perfect form. Now, sir, when do we use the word has and when do we use the word have? Okay, has is for singular subject. Example, the tree has, the dog has, the person has. But if I'm using the plural form, okay, the people have, the children have, the books have, the trees have, plus your past participle. So the children have been working, that the teachers have taken, the pupils have observed. So that is how we use the present perfect form. Well, as I have mentioned, we use the present perfect form to talk about the past. But there's a difference between the present perfect form and the simple past form. And this difference is the time expression. Okay, remember, the present perfect form must not have a time expression. So when you say time expression, words like yesterday, okay, last month, last year, in the past, when I was a child, all of these words, okay, must be avoided, because if you're going to use a time expression, your present perfect form is no longer necessary, but your simple past form is. So this is very simple, okay? If I am going to say that an idea occurred in the past without telling you when that idea happened, for example, I have eaten the leftover pizza. Let me type it. I have eaten the leftover pizza. I have eaten the leftover pizza. If I am going to write, or if I'm going to include yesterday, then the use of the present perfect form of the verb is no longer necessary, because there's an existing time expression. So if I want it to be correct, I just have to leave it this way. I have eaten the leftover pizza. It means that this idea has been done. This event has already occurred. There's no turning back. It's in the past. All right, sir, but I want to write yesterday. I want to write it. Okay, I insist. I want to write it. So I ate. I ate the leftover pizza yesterday. If you want to have a time expression, you will now shift to the simple past, which is what we're going to talk about later. Don't worry, all right? But since we're talking about the present perfect form, we're going to also talk about when do we use the present perfect form? Okay, we're also going to discuss why do we need to avoid adding the time expressions. So what are the things that I need to do when I do this? So I have eaten the leftover pizza, and then there should be no time expression involved. Because if there's a time expression involved, it will now prompt us to use the other type of the past tense, which is the simple past form of the verb. So let me just clear my drawings, and we shall proceed with our samples on when can we use it. So we use the present perfect tense to the unspecified time before now, which means past. Okay. We use the present perfect to say that an action happened at an unspecified time before now. Take a look. Unspecified. You will not mention when this time is. You cannot use the present perfect with specific time expression like this. Yesterday, 1 year ago, last week, when I was a child, when I lived in Japan, at the moment, at that moment, which is in the past, that day, one day. We can use the present perfect with unspecific expressions such as ever, never, once, many times, several times, before, so far, already, yet, and the likes. So sir, can you pause this for a while, because I'm going to take a screenshot. I'm going to write everything down. No, don't worry, guys. All these words that you see right here, all the words in my slide, everything will be converted into a PDF, which is going to be your handout, including the link for the non-continuous and mixed verbs, normal verbs, and the like. So I'm going to post everything after the post-processing of this video. When I convert this into a YouTube video now, I will also attach all the things that you need to prepare, to print. Okay, so I have seen that movie 20 times. I have seen that movie 20 times. So sir, there's a time expression, 20 times. But do you know when this 20 times occurred? I don't know. So it's still included in the present perfect tense. I think I have met him once before. Before, when is this before? Is it last week, last month? I don't know. This is an unspecified time. So the use of the I have met is still correct. There have been many earthquakes in California. That's true, but I didn't specify when those earthquake happened. So the use of your present perfect tense is also accurate here. People have traveled to the moon. People have not traveled to Mars. Have you read the book yet? Nobody has ever climbed that mountain. Nobody, no one, ever. All right. Nobody has ever climbed that mountain. Has there ever been a war in the United States? Yes, there has been a war in the United States, the Civil War. Okay. So we use the present perfect tense for unspecified time before now. We also use this for experience. We use the present perfect to describe your experience. It is like saying, I have the experience of. You can also use this tense to say that you have never had a certain experience by adding the word not. Remember, I have been to France, but I'm not including whether I've been to France in a specific time. It's the literal translation as I have had an experience of being in France. That's why I use have been instead of I went to France. Because when I say I went to France, I need to add the time expression. Since it does not have a time expression, the use of your have been as your present perfect tense is accurate. I have been to France 3 times. Again, not including the times in which you've been there. I've never been to France. That is the negation of the experience. I think I've seen the movie before. He has never traveled by train. John has studied 2 foreign languages. Have you ever met him? No, I have not met him. I have slept well. I have slept for 8 hours. I have finished eating. So you can use those experiences for your present perfect tense. Change over time. We often use the present perfect to talk about changes that has happened over a specific period of time. You have grown since the last time I saw you. So we're not including when this last time I saw you is compared to now. The government has become more interested in arts education. Japanese has become one of the most popular courses at the university since the Asian Studies program was established. And my English has really improved since I moved to Australia. So have grown, has become, has improved, has become better, has occurred, has improved, okay, has changed, has become taller. So you can use those speeches, you can use those expressions to maintain that the connotation of your speech has something to do with the change that you want to highlight over time. So that is the second use of your present perfect. Accomplishments. We often use the present perfect to list the accomplishments of individuals and humanity as well. You cannot mention a specific time. Remember, man has walked on the moon. You don't say man has walked on the moon in 1969. You don't add the time expressions because if you do that, it will not be very accurate with the use of your tense. Our son has learned how to read. That's an accomplishment. Doctors have cured many deadly diseases. That's also accurate. Scientists have split the atom. Scientists have invented the cure for COVID-19. So because they did, that's an accomplishment. So you can use the present perfect tense. An uncompleted action you're expecting. So there's a negative emotion here. James has not finished his homework yet. So take a look at the words. Yet. All right. Still. Okay. So if you're using the negative emotion for an uncompleted action you're expecting, there is this there's this negative feeling attached to it. So take a look at this. the rain hasn't stopped. So it means that you are sad because the rain hasn't stopped. Bill has still not arrived. So you are disappointed because Bill has still not yet arrived. And James has not finished his homework yet. You're expecting Bill to finish, or James, sorry, to finish his homework, but he is not yet finished. So if there's an uncompleted action and you're expecting that the action should be finished sooner, then please use your the present perfect tense of your verb. Multiple actions at different times. Okay, the army has attacked the city 5 times. Again, hindi pa rin kasali yung time expression when this 5 times attack happened. I've had 4 quizzes and 5 tests so far this semester, but I didn't mention when those 4 quizzes and 5 tests happened. We have had many major problems while working on this project, but I didn't mention when. She has talked to several specialists about her problem, but nobody knows why she is sick. So time expressions with present perfect. Sir, this is confusing. You told us we cannot use a time expression with the present perfect. Why? Now we are going to add a time expression for present perfect. Now, guys, remember, look at the time expressions. In the last year, in the last month, in the last week, so far this week. Or you can also add for 2 weeks, for 2 years. Okay. Let me read this sample to you. Have you been to Mexico in the last year? Have you been to Mexico in the last year? So, what does this mean and why do we use this special case of time expression? So sometimes we want to narrow down. Okay, we want to narrow down the listener or the reader's idea of when the action might have occurred. So in this case, I asked the person, have you been to Mexico in the last year? So for the past year, parang if I'm going to convert this in Tagalog, ganito yung idea niya. Sa nagdaang taon, naka-experience ka ba na pumunta sa Mexico? Nagka-experience ka ba na pumunta o makabalik sa Mexico? That's the literal translation. Iba yon, okay, sa last year. Last year lang. Kasi if last year lang, magiging lang tong, did you go to Mexico last year? Kasi last year is a specific time expression. I know that last year means 2020. But when I say in the last year, for the past year, November 2021, start from November 2020 to November 2021, was there between that year, between that span of days? Okay, in these 2 inclusive dates, I am referring, have you had an experience of being in Mexico? So let me rephrase this to you, the example, to make it a bit simpler to digest. Okay, let me change the color. Make it a bit simpler to digest. All right. I have been sick in the last month. I have been sick for 2 weeks. So in the last month, for 2 weeks, these are entire duration. Okay, so let me change the color. Duration. Hangganan, tagal. So I have been sick in the last month. Sa tagal ng isang buwan, nagkasakit ako ng isang beses. Nagkasakit ako ng 2 linggo. But am I telling you when the 2 weeks happened? No. Am I specifically implying when the day during the past month happen? No. So what are the time expressions that are allowed? Take a look. What are the time expressions that are allowed in the experiences sentence? So we can use in the last week. Remember, never forget the in the last week, in the last year, in the last month, in the last decade. Never forget the in the, because if it just becomes last year, last week, last month, then it becomes a past expression. So which is not going to be accurate for this type of tense. So this week, this month, so far, up to now, and many others. So take a look at some of our samples. All right. I have seen that movie 6 times in the last month. So when I say I have seen that movie 6 times, it could be you have seen that movie 6 times starting last month. And they have had 3 tests in the last week. Not just for the past year, but 3 tests just for last week alone, the span of that. But I didn't mention whether the first quiz was on Monday, and then the other would be on Tuesday or on Wednesday. So I just mentioned that for the week which has passed, there have been 3 quizzes for those students. She graduated from university less than 3 years ago. She has worked for 3 different companies so far. And my car is broken down 3 times this week, which is very unfortunate, right? So now, last year and in the last year are very different meaning. Last year means the year before now, and it is considered a specific time which requires simple past. Exactly what I'm going to teach you later. In the last year means from 365 days ago until now. It is not considered a specific time, so it requires present perfect. I went to Mexico last year. I went to Mexico in the calendar year before this one. That's why I went. That was the word that we use, the past tense of go. I have been to Mexico in the last year. I have been, it means I have had the experience of being in the place of Mexico for the year that passed over the entire 365 days. Okay. So duration from the past until now, again, we have the non-continuous and mixed verbs, which we're going to learn later. I've had a cold for 2 weeks. She has been in England for 6 months, and Mary has loved chocolate since she was little girl. So we're done with your present perfect. Now we will continue for your present perfect continuous. This one, the has and have plus been, they are all required. All right. Has and have. Remember, this is the one that I told you. Has for your singular subject, have for your plural subject. Look at this, the been word. Been will be a constant here, which means a variable that we cannot remove. All right, we cannot change this. We cannot remove this because if there's no been, we're not following the form of the sentence structure and the present participle. So, sir, what about the present participle? What about this? Well, present participle, you just have to add ing in all the words. Okay, like eat will become eating. Run will become running. Sleep will become sleeping. So, has been eating, have been running, has been sleeping. So, those are some of the samples that we use for the present perfect continuous tense. So duration from the past until now, remember there's a duration that we're referring to. We use the present perfect continuous to show that something started in the past and has continued up until now. For 5 minutes, for 2 weeks, and since Tuesday are all durations which can be used with the present perfect continuous. So they have been talking for the last hour. So take a look at this. We're using for to indicate duration. for over 2 hours for the last 3 days. Or you can also use since, or an hour ago, or 2 weeks ago. You can use the word ago as well. All right. They have been talking for the last hour, which means for the past 2 hours, or sorry, for the last 60 minutes, they are still talking. They started talking 1 hour ago. They're still talking now. She has been working at that company for 3 years. She started working at that company in the past. She is still working now, and she is maybe going to work there in the future. What have you been doing for the last 30 minutes? James has been teaching at the university since June. We have been waiting here for over 2 hours. Why has Nancy not been taking her medicine for the last 3 days? So those are just some samples. Recently and lately. Take a look. Guys, this is important. All right. You can also use the present perfect continuous without a duration, such as for 2 weeks. Without the duration, the tense has a more general meaning, like lately. We often use the words lately or recently to emphasize this meaning. Recently, I have been feeling really tired. She has been watching too much television lately. Have you been exercising lately? Because you look thin. Mary has been feeling a little depressed. Lisa has not been practicing her English. Why? Or sorry, what have you been doing? So all those words, we use it with the word lately and recently. So if we don't have the lately or recently, the connotation is still there, okay? Which means that there is a duration that you are not implying. All right, so that is the present perfect continuous. Remember, I have highlighted the importance, okay? I have highlighted the importance of your simple present, present perfect, okay, and present progressive, because those are the common tense that we use in the present category for your essay. I'm not suggesting that you use the present perfect continuous very often because it requires a very complicated condition to be met before you can use this. But again, feel free to use it. You just have to add for. You just have to add lately or recently. Like lately, many people have been migrating to other countries in search for better opportunities. So if that is how you want to start your essay, I'm okay with that. But you can benefit from making it simple. Like people are migrating to many different countries and cities for better opportunities. See, it sounds much better to read. It sounds easier to crunch if that is how your sentences are arranged. So it's up to you. I have taught you how to use them. I have taught you when you use them. I've taught you the occasions in which you can use them. So please use them and follow the rules properly. Now, we're in the simple past form. Okay. Any questions in the present category? Okay, for my attendees today, Jocelyn, Sheena, Christian, Shira, Almira, and Jojo. All right, do you guys have any questions and concerns for the present tenses? Okay, no one's asking questions. No one's raising their hands. I believe that you have completely understood our topic. So, simple past form. Okay, verb plus ed for your regular verb. So you have your regular verb. You just have to add d or ed, like. You add liked, hate, hated, want, sometimes ed, wanted. For your irregular verbs, okay, for your irregular, we changed the meaning. So take will become took, sleep will become slept, Go will become went. See will become saw. So that's your irregular, the difference between them. So it's very simple. You get the subject, you get the verb in its past form, combine them together. There's no need for it to ing or has been, is, or was, where you don't have to do that anymore. That's it for a completed action in the past. But this one is different from the present perfect. Present perfect, there's no past expression. There's no time expression involved. But your simple past, it requires a time expression. Yesterday, last night, 2 weeks ago, last year, in the past, in ancient times, during the ancient period. So you need to use your time expressions. I saw a movie yesterday. Compared with our example in your present perfect, I have seen that movie already. When I say, I have seen that movie already, napanood ko na yan. When I say, I saw a movie yesterday, nanood ako ng pelikula kahapon. There is a time expression. Series of completed action. That's it. There should be what we call atmosphere in your presentation of ideas. So you will arrange the order of the events, how they occurred. So you will just put them in a series and you will just be enumerating which those words are. So I finished work, walked to the beach, and found a nice place to swim. Remember, there should be consistency. There should be parallelism. So finished, walked, and found are all in the past, simple past tense. So all of them should use the simple past tense of the verb. Arrived, checked, and met. Sir, what about the last sample? Your last sample is this. Did you add flour, pour in the milk, and add the eggs? Remember, your verb here is not, okay, your verb here is not your add, your pour, or your add. Your main verb here is did. But the problem with did here, okay, is that did will now carry the load of the past tense. So everything, every word, every verb that will come after it, add, pour, add, give, take, supply, mix, any verb that you want to add, all of them should be in the base form or what we call the infinitive form, okay? If your sentence contain a did, do, or does. Duration. For 2 years, for 5 years, yes, you can use also duration in the past. But as compared, take a look at this, okay? Let us compare with my previous present perfect continuous tense. Okay, let me compare. Oh, white. I need to use white. Okay, with your present perfect continuous, all right, we will be using has or have plus been plus the present participle and then the duration. Example. They have been talking for the past 2 hours. They have been talking for the past 2 hours. So the talking between those people started 2 hours ago and it is still continuing until now. Still happening now. This is absurd. Nag-uusap pa rin sila, 2 oras na. Okay? But if you're using simple past with a duration, it's okay. Because the action started in the past and the action duration also finished in the past. For example, I baked this cake for 2 hours. It means that I baked this cake, I'm done, I'm not baking anymore. This cake is baked. So I baked this cake for 2 hours. It could be at 6 o'clock today, and the baking activity was finished at 8 a.m. So it means that the cake is baked, I'm done with baking, I'm not doing anything, the action is finished. It started, it got finished in the past. It stayed there. But for the present perfect continuous, it is still happening. It's still continuing. All right, that's the difference for the duration of the simple past and the duration of the present perfect continuous. I hope you guys don't mix things up. All right, I hope that you guys don't confuse yourselves, because this is easy to understand. I live in Brazil for 2 years. Question, do you still live in Brazil? Of course not. I lived. It's already over. Now I'm living somewhere else. Okay. Shauna studied Japanese for 5 years. Is she still studying? No. It's done. It's already finished. They sat at the beach all day. When? Probably last month, but not now. It's already finished. So you get the point. You're talking about duration, but it's in the past. The action is already over. If you want to talk about duration that is still happening right now, then feel free to go back to the present perfect continuous. But right now, we're talking about the simple past form. You just have to get the verb, which is in the past, and that's it. All right. What else? Habits in the past. Things that a person, things that the speaker or the writer has had an experience of doing in the past. So this has the same meaning as used to. I studied French when I was a child. He played the violin, not anymore. He didn't play the piano. Did you play? So why play? Why is it in the present form? Take a look at this. Did carries the load of the past tense. She worked. They never went to school. They always skipped classes. Are they still skipping classes? Probably not, because went and skip, it's already in the past form. It's already over. It started in the past. It's done in the past. One and done. Okay? Remember that. Habits in the past. Past facts or generalizations. Simple past can also be used to describe past facts. All right? Mga bagay na totoo noon. Okay? Teka lang. Magtanong tayo. Jojo! Jojo, are you there? Jojo, you can unmute yourself. Jojo's not answering. Almira. Almira. Almira, are you there?
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Yes, Almira. Almira, how old are you?
I'm 31, sir.
31. Okay. So Almira, can you give me some facts which are true in the past during your time when you were still a child, but it's not a fact anymore? Tagalog, mga bagay na sa tingin mo totoo noon na hindi na totoo ngayon. Mga nabago.
Wait, sir.
Sige. Ano kaya ang mga...
About ano?
Halimbawa, presyo ng langis. Presyo ng gasol.
Superstitious belief, sir.
Ano?
Superstitious belief.
Superstitious belief? Actually, many people still believe superstitious belief. And it's not a fact kasi it has never been a fact. Mga bagay na totoo noon. Like mura ang bilihin noon. Parang gano'n.
Ano ba?
Sige, what about dress? The way how people dress.
Noon sir, sa pananamit yung mga ang mga sa mga girl na lang po. Medyo conservative po sila noon.
Conservative. Mhm.
Opo. Pero
So,
ngayon
pwedeng
medyo
girls in the past used to dress more conservatively. O, di ba? That was a past fact. All right. This one, Almira, listen to me. This is what I want to share to you. People paid much more to make cell phone calls in the past. Do you think that this is true before? Nagbabayad ba
yes.
tayo ng mahal para makatawag lang?
Yes sir. Noon.
Noon. Di ba? Scratch. Naabutan mo ba yon, Almira?
Opo.
O kasi hindi ko na
Yes.
inabutan eh. Ano na inabutan ko? Yung mga
Meron
Andy.
pa
ganun.
yun, sir.
Okay. So those were past facts. I'm going to add more. Let's say the price of petrol products, diba? Petrol products were much cheaper before, which is true. I mean, come on, diesel cost about 40 to 50 pesos, which was already 20 pesos in the past. Yikes. So inflation is real. Now, those are past facts or generalization. Thank you so much for participating, Almira. I will be calling more students later. So guys, please be ready. All right. Important when clauses happen first. All right. Clauses are a group of words which have meaning but are often not complete. Some clauses begin with the word when, such as when I dropped my pen or when classes began. These clauses are called when clauses, and they are very important. The example below contains when clauses. So I'm going to highlight this sentence right here that contains two clauses. All right, so we have the when I paid her $1. This is what we call the when clause. And then I'm going to change the color. Let me change this into blue. She answered my question. This is what we call the resulting clause. She answered my question when I paid her $1. Again, this is your resulting clause. And the one that has a when is your when clause. When clauses are important because they always happen first when both clauses are in the simple past. Both of the examples above mean the same thing. First, I paid her $1 and then she answered my question. Take a look at this. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, Jocelyn Avenir. Jocelyn, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Jocelyn. So Jocelyn, I have here two sample sentences. I'm going to read them to you. Okay, the first one, when I paid her $1, she answered my question. According to my rule right here, when clauses always happen first. So if that is the case, when I paid her $1, she answered my question. Which do you think happened first? When I paid her $1 or the answering my question?
She asked which one come first.
Okay, so there are two events here, Jocelyn, okay? Example,
Yes.
ikaw yon. I will be paying you $1. And then you will answer my question, Jocelyn. Just as an example, all right? Now, sabi dun sa ating rule, ang nauuna daw palagi ay kung nasaan yung when. So, it means that according to sentence, when I paid Jocelyn $1, she answered my question. Ang mauuna doon is
Answer my question.
when I paid you $1.
When I paid her.
Kasi nandun yung when eh, tama ba?
Yeah.
O kung nasaan yung when, laging
Yeah.
yun ang mauuna. O ngayon, balik na rin natin. She answered my question when I paid her $1. Ano na una? She answered my question or when I paid her $1?
No, when I paid her $1.
Correct, Jocelyn. Kahit na binaliktad ko yung placement ng she answered my question and when I paid her $1, mauuna pa rin yung when I paid her $1 kahit nandun siya sa dulo. Because Nasa kanya yung when.
The answer when. Yes.
Okay. Now, Jocelyn, here's a different thing. Yung when, inilagay ko sa when she answered my question. So, I paid her $1 when she answered my question. Anong nauna? Paying $1 or answering my question?
When she answered my question.
Correct. Again, Jocelyn. When she answered
Kasi
my
andun pa rin
question,
yung when.
dahil nandoon yung when. When clauses always happen first. Thank you so much for participating, Jocelyn.
Thank you and welcome.
Okay. So everyone, that is very simple. All right. That is how we use the when clauses properly. So past continuous form. All right. So we're going to use was and were plus your present participle. You know what? I was about to fall asleep a while ago. Parang wala akong energy nung umpisa because wala akong tinatanong. You know, that's where I get my energy from asking questions to students. So eto na, simulan na natin ang mga tanungan. So past continuous form, we're going to use was for singular subject. Kevin was, the dog was, the pillow was, the bed was. Or were for plural subjects. The animals were, the chickens were, the bottles were, the students were, the children were. And then present participle, guys, just a recap. Present participle are verbs that contain ing. Eating, running, walking, sleeping, listening, reading, writing, speaking. All the verbs should contain ing. Were studying, was walking, was eating, were running. So the past continuous form is it's a very difficult topic to cover even for me. But I want to draw something here so that everyone can understand what I mean. Okay. So I have here, okay, a timeline. This one is the past. All right, this one is the present. This is where we are right now. Okay, and this one will be the future. All right, so we're happy about this one. So I have a good drawing right here. So past, present, and future. Okay, there is an event that started in the past. Okay, there is an event that started in the past. Now, this event is not finished because there is something that interrupted it. All right, there was something that interrupted the event. Okay, so for example, watching television. All right, I will choose watching television. Watching television. Now, watching television is an event that happened in the past. The problem was it's not finished because something interrupted it. There was something that interrupted Kevin watching television. For example, this interruption is Kevin's mom calling him. Mom calling. Now, watching television, this activity is not finished. All right, this activity is not finished, but the interrupter is. Take a look at this. Nanonood ng TV noon. Hindi natapos yung panonood ng TV noon. Bakit? Mayroong umabala. Ano yung abala? Tumawag yung nanay. Natapos ba ang panonood ng TV? Hindi, naabala nga. Pero yung abala, natapos ba? Oo. So that is how we use the past continuous form. We will be using the past continuous tense, was, were, plus present participle, plus the interrupter in the past simple. Okay? We will be using all of those tenses, we'll be using the combination of them. So take a look at this. I was watching TV. I was watching TV, an activity which was not finished when she called, an activity which got completed. So, sir, how do we know which one is completed, which one is interrupted? Take a look. When she called, this one called, this is in the simple past. That is finished. Was watching, this is in the past continuous. This is interrupted. This is not finished entirely. Okay. All right. For example, Sheena. Sheena?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Sheena. Sheena, have you had an experience of having your hair colored? Have you ever had an experience?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sometimes coloring the hair requires very long time, right?
Yes, sir.
So here's what happened, Sheena. So you were having your hair done. Okay, you were coloring your hair. Somebody is coloring your hair. So that's the activity. Coloring hair. Now, there's an earthquake. I hope that this doesn't happen. This does not happen in real life, though. An earthquake happened. So how are we going to make a sentence out of this, Sheena? So where am I going to put the past continuous? Is it coloring of your hair or the earthquake?
Sir, ano po ulit?
Okay, so here's the thing. You were having your hair done.
Yes po.
It's being colored by someone. And then all of a sudden it's shaking. Oh my God, there's an earthquake. And then you run outside because there's an earthquake. Because, you have to protect ourselves. So which one of these two activities do you think I'm going to put the past continuous? Because I want to tell the story to my Facebook friends, for example. Okay. So where is the past continuous? Where is the past simple?
Sir, yung ano po, yung past continuous po yung coloring here.
Was coloring my hair, and then earthquake happened. Or it could be like this. I was having my hair colored by the beautician. Yeah. When an earthquake happened. So which means that the earthquake started and got finished in the past, but look at your hair. Your hair is not finished, Sheena, right? It's not yet
Yes,
done.
sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that's really a dilemma. What am I going to do with my hair now? All right, it's blue. So blue hair. Okay, thank you so much for participating, Sheena. So that's the first use of our past continuous. There should be one past continuous and there should be one past simple together to indicate that one action is interrupted and the interrupter got finished. So, while John was sleeping last night, take a look at this. This is another very unfortunate event. While John was sleeping last night, someone stole his car. Like that. While John was sleeping last night, someone stole his car. You were not listening to me when I told you to turn the oven off. Sammy was waiting for us when we got off the plane. While I was writing the email, the computer suddenly went off. Who would have thought, right? Okay. Next, specific time as an interruption. This is something that I don't want you to use. But for the sake of teaching this, I'm still going to teach this, but I don't want you to use this. This is what I refer to as mema. Imagine, last night, At 6 p.m., I was eating dinner. Who cares? I don't care. So at midnight, we were still driving. Yesterday, I was sitting at my desk at work. So I don't want you to use that. When you use the time expression itself as the interrupter. So not a fan. Important. In a simple past, a specific time is used to show when an action began or finished. In the past continuous, a specific time only interrupts the action. So they are completely different. So last night at 6 p.m., I ate dinner, which means I started eating at 8. Last night at 6 p.m., I was eating dinner. It means that I was in the process. That's a longer action that requires longer duration. Parallel action, I was studying while he was making. So, let me ask a question. Shira. Shira?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Shira, I was asking Sheena and at the same time Jocelyn, and we notice that we are using the word when, okay, on the previous statements. So we're using the word when to indicate that there's a simple past, an action that got finished and one action which didn't got finished. Now, I want you to tell me, Shara, among the sentences I have in the samples here, what do you think is the word that they all have in common? Like you can read 1 or 2 sentences, you will immediately see the similarity.
Sir, lahat sila may was.
Lahat sila actually, yes, may was, kailangan natin nun. Dahil nga yun yung way natin ng pagbuo ng sentence. Was talking, we're eating, we're waiting. Pero ano pa, merong isang word na parehas silang lahat, na meron silang lahat.
Yun na lang. Sige, bakit?
Sarah, let me help you here. Ito yun. Lahat sila may while.
Ito ba?
While. Oh, meron pa ditong while. Another. Okay. I was studying while he was making dinner, while Ellen was reading, Tim was watching television. Were you listening while he was talking? I wasn't paying attention while I was writing the letter, so I made several mistakes. What were you doing while you were waiting? Thomas wasn't working and I wasn't working either. So while, okay naman din yung end, same element, same as this. But what's with the use of while compared to when? When, this one, it means that one action got finished. But while, we're talking about 2 events happening, or in this case, happened simultaneously. While, in Tagalog, habang. While I was studying, he was making dinner. Habang ako ay nag-aaral, siya naman ay gumagawa ng hapunan. While Ellen was reading, Tim was watching television. So, 2 activities being done by 2 different people simultaneously. Sabay. All right? That is your parallel actions. Atmosphere, atmosphere is just, you're going to add more. Typing, we're talking, was yelling, we're waiting, was yelling, waving, we're complaining. To create an atmosphere. So yes, there is also a repetition and irritation with always here. The past continuous with words such as always and constantly expresses the idea that something irritating or shocking often happened in the past. The concept is very similar to the expression used to, but with negative emotion. So kanina, gumamit tayo sa present continuous. Sabi natin, she is always coming to class late. So we are irritated by that idea. But in this sense, she was always coming to class late. The difference between she is always coming to class late with she was always coming to class late is your was and is. When you say she was always coming to class late, the irritation with the word always is in the past. But when you say she is always coming to class late, the irritation is in the present. So it means that she was always coming to class late and it made everyone annoyed at her. So that means it's already in the past. And I don't have grudge with her anymore with that. Okay, but when I say she is always coming to class late, this is very fresh. This is happening right now, literally. All right. So you have to be aware that those two are very different. Okay, but they have the same connotation. The past continuous is just something that happened in the past. Okay, that's just the difference. Again, while versus when. Let me just highlight this very important idea. While happening simultaneously when something occurred first. So the summary of everything that is indicated in this discussion, in everything that is in this paragraph, is that while two things happening at once, when the one that has the when happened first. So to make things much simpler, I was studying when she called, which means that the calling happened first. All right, the I was studying was interrupted. While I was studying, she called. All right, so those are two different things. When I say I was studying when she called, when, where do I put the when? In the past simple. Napakasimple. While I was studying, she called. So saan ko ilalagay yung while? Doon sa past continuous. Take a look. Let me clarify this even further. Okay, so I have two phrases here. The was studying, again, this is in the present, sorry, this is in the past continuous. I was studying. And then I have here the she called, all right? So I was studying and then she called. So if I want to emphasize the interruption, I will put when, because I can only put when to expression which already finished. So I was studying when she called. Now, while I was studying, she called. Now I want to put the emphasis on the past continuous, so I can put while in the was studying. So this is very easy. You put when to past simple, you put while to past continuous. When for finished actions, ed, D, and the irregular verb. While for was, were, while I was eating, while I was running, while they were hurrying, while they were going, while they were talking. So that is where you put your while. Okay, remember that, people. Now, past perfect form. Had plus past participle. You do not use has and have anymore because that is for the present perfect form. There's only one word that can be used here, which is had. Had plus past participle. I've taught you about the past participle. Had been, had become, had observed, had seen, had watched, had taken, had eaten. All right? So we use it for completed action before something in the past. Take a look at this. I had never seen such a beautiful beach before I went to Kauai. Okay, so it means that there is no existing memory for this person about the beautiful beach that this person is experiencing. But when this person went to Kauai, now he saw a beautiful beach. I did not have any money because I had lost my wallet. Tony knew Istanbul so well because he had visited the city several times. So take a look at that. We are using cause and effect relationship with the use of your past perfect form. Okay. So duration before something in the past. Well, I don't want you to use the same goes with the previous one, but just for the sake of teaching, I will still teach you. With non-continuous verbs and some non-continuous use of mixed verbs, we use the past perfect to show that something started in the past and continued up until another action in the past. We have a car or that car for 10 years before it broke down. Sir, is that correct? I have the had and I also have the have. Yes, you can also write a sentence. Sorry. Slideshow was stopped share. All right, you can even also use had and had. Okay, which means used to have. That is the connotation. So had have is accurate. Had is also correct. Okay, so if you're seeing some novels, if you're seeing some books, if you have already saw some subtitles with had and have, and then has have, and then has had, all right, that is accurate because we're following the proper tense. Okay, that is the second use, duration before something in the past. Past perfect continuous, had been plus present participle, had been eating, had been raining, had been studying, had been confirming, had been listening, had been reading, had been writing, had been speaking. So when do we use the past perfect continuous? We use it for number one, duration before something in the past. So we're talking about how long something occurred, not now, but in the past. So they had been they had been talking for over an hour before Tony arrived, okay? She had been working at that company for 3 years when it went out of business. So take a look at this. I am going to draw another timeline here. Okay, I'm going to draw another timeline so that you can understand this much easier. Okay, so this is where I'm going to draw. All right. Okay, so here is my arrow. Here's your past. Then here is your present. Let me draw another line that is in the middle. Okay, then this is your present. And then this is your future. Okay. Now, she had been working at that company for 3 years. So take a look at this. Okay, I'm going to draw something. She had been working for that company for 3 years. Okay. So take a look at that. I am writing something. She had been working for that company, working for 3 years. So she had been working for that company for 3 years. Unfortunately, this working for 3 years is not in the present. There's a duration here. All right. It does not translate to her working in that company even in the present. So what does this mean? So there's a duration of this person working for that company for 3 years. Unfortunately, it went out of business. That is the reason that it started in the past, it ended in the past, but the emphasis is on the duration, which is 3 years. So take a look at that. For over an hour, for 3 years, long, had been standing, had been teaching for more than a year before he left for Asia. Okay, which means that the action started in the past. There's a duration, the focus of the discussion, and it already got finished because of an interruption. So that is the idea of this tense. Okay, the idea of your past perfect continuous tense. All right. Now, second, cause of something. Jason was tired because he had been jogging. I told you guys, this is the best use to show cause and effect relationship. Sam gained weight because he had been overeating. Betty failed the final test because she had not been attending classes. So past continuous versus past perfect continuous. So let me just compare them using the examples below. Okay, I'm going to use my spotlight right here. So he was tired because he was exercising so hard. This one, the sentence emphasizes that he was tired because of the exercise. But with the use of your past perfect continuous, he was tired because he had been exercising so hard. The focus here is the duration of the exercise. How long has this person been exercising? So those two are the difference between the past continuous and the past perfect continuous. But are you going to use this type of tenses in your essay? Well, if you cannot use those type of sentences in your essay, that's okay. I am just teaching you for the sake of teaching. Again, your simple present, your simple past, your simple future, the simple tenses are what's more important. The progressive tenses for the continuous, the present continuous tense is what's important, okay? But I'm just teaching you all the 12 tenses so that you will know what they are, you will know when to use them, and if you cannot use them properly, what are the other ways that I can express the same idea without being inaccurate, okay? So now simple future. So we can do simple future using two ways, okay? The first is the will plus verb, and then am is are going to plus the verb. So take a look at that. You will help him later. You are going to meet Jane tonight. Both of them are in the simple feature. Take a look. Both of them are in the simple feature. The difference is that will, okay, expresses a promise, a voluntary action. Will expresses a promise, a voluntary action, while am is are going to plus the verb is expressing a plan. So voluntary action, plan. Okay, so those two are different. Will to express voluntary action. Will often suggests that a speaker will do something voluntarily. Take a look at the example. I will send the information. I will translate the email so Mr. Smith can read it. Will you help me move this heavy table? Will you make dinner? I will not do your homework for you. I won't do all the housework myself. I am really hungry. I'll make some sandwiches. Okay. Now, will is also used to express a promise. I will call you when I arrive. If I'm elected president of the United States, I will make sure everyone has access to expensive health insurance. I promise I will not tell him about the surprise party. Don't worry, I'll be careful. I won't tell anyone your secret. Okay. Be going to for a plan. So is going to, am going to, are going to. He's going to spend his vacation in Hawaii. We are going to meet each other at 6 p.m. tonight. I'm going to be an actor when I grow up. Michelle is going to begin medical school next year. They're going to drive all the way to Alaska. So going to is for the plan. Will is for either a voluntary action or for a promise. But you can interchange the two. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you know how to use the terms properly. All right. So you can also use be going to or even will for a prediction, like the year 2222 will be a very interesting year. The year 2222 is going to be a very interesting year. See, there's not much of a difference between the two of them. Okay, there's not much of a difference between the two of them. John Smith will be the next president. John Smith is going to be the next president. The movie Zenith will win several Academy Awards. The movie Zenith is going to win several Academy Awards. So those two, they're not that different from one another. So feel free to use them interchangeably, but refer to be going to for plan and will for promises and voluntary action. So in the simple future, it is not always clear which use the speaker has in mind. Often there's more than one way to interpret a sentence's meaning. So remember, we also do not add time expressions such as when, while, before, after, by the time, as soon as, if, unless. Instead of the simple future, we use the simple present. Take a look at this. When you will arrive tonight, that's wrong. When you arrive tonight, that is correct. Okay, we will go out for dinner. Future continuous. So we just have to use be plus ing. So in this sample right here, okay, let me draw something. In the will be plus present simple, will be waiting, will be eating, will be running. So what are you going to do when you get home today? I will be exercising when I go home today. What are you going to do today? I am going to be exercising when I go home today. So future continuous, okay? You can use those example for our references. Interrupted action in the future. Yes, there's also an interruption. Guys, this is the crazy part about the future tense because something is not yet happening and yet the person anticipates that there is an interruption. I will be watching TV when she arrives tonight. Let me explain this to you. Again, sa madaling salita, hindi pa ito nangyayari, okay? I will be watching TV when she arrives tonight. I will be watching TV. Let's say, I will watch TV at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. I will start watching TV at 9 p.m. Now, she arrives somewhere between 9:10 and 9:15. Okay, this one. 9:10 and 9:15. She arrives tonight at around 9:10. Let's say 9:10. So am I anticipating that I will be watching TV later when she arrives? Yes, I will be finishing my watching TV activity and then she will arrive tonight. So sir, why I do that? Because this is always happening. This has been going on for many times. Let's say this is my wife and my wife has a duty, let's say working as a doctor at 9:10 p.m. and then she will arrive at 9:10 p.m. and then I will watch starting at 9 because that's my favorite show. And it has been happening for years now so that I can make certain anticipations like this. Okay. I am going to be staying at the Madison Hotel. If anything happens and you need to contact me, just call me. Pwede rin yan. Again, specific time as an interruption. I'm not a fan. I don't suggest that you guys use this. Parallel actions in the future. So you can use the word while. You can use the word and. I'm going to be studying and he's going to be making dinner. Pwede rin naman, I will be studying and he will be making dinner. Tonight, they will be eating dinner, discussing their plans, and having a good time. While Ellen is reading, Tim will be watching television. Take a look at this. Reading, not while Ellen will be reading, because we do not put will with while, when, and those if and when clauses. Atmosphere in the future, just have to make sure that they are parallel to one another, which means you will follow the same tense, okay? Future perfect will have, or am is are going to have plus past participle. Remember, both forms will have eaten, will have seen, will have become, or is going to have eaten, are going to have traveled, am going to have cleaned. They form the same. You need to have the possessive verb have, no has, no had, only have, plus the past participle. So completed action. By next November, I will have received my promotion. By the time he gets home, she's going to have cleaned the entire house. I'm not going to have finished this test by 3 o'clock. So again, duration, future perfect continuous. Guys, for the sake of teaching, I am teaching this to you, future perfect and future perfect continuous, but I am not suggesting that you use them because they are very complicated. So stick with the simple future, which we will be continuing on your grammar 4 lecture, because grammar 4 is your modal verbs and conditionals. Those are very helpful verbs in your essay. So the future perfect continuous is something that forms like this. Will have been eating, is going to have been waiting. So take a look at how complicated the tense is, all right? So I don't want you to write very long sentences like those. That's why I will not be including that in our discussion for today, because I don't want you to use them in your essays, in your speeches, stick with the simple tenses of the verb. So after this lecture, I will be converting this into a video. I will attach, don't worry, I will attach your tenses, this one. Okay, I would like everyone to see. Okay, this will be the PDF that I am going to share to you. Everything that is in my discussion is here. So, sir, what about this? So we will be having, okay, we will be having the list of irregular verbs, and I want you to write the past and the past participle forms of them. So, for example, awake. All right, awake. So here's an example already: arise, arose, arisen. Do you guys see my screen? Everyone, Shaira, Jocelyn, Sheena. Who else? Almira, Jojo. All right. So Sheena put a thumbs up. So I want to explain what your activity will be later after the call. So you have your arise. The past form is arose, and the past participle is arisen. Awake. All right. Awake is your base verb. Then awoke will be your past form. Awaken will be your past participle. Bear, this will be your infinitive form. Bore, B-O-R-E, will be your past form, and born, B-O-R-N-E, will be your past participle. Okay, there are some words. Beat, beat is your simple form. Beat is also your past form, and then beaten is the past participle form. Okay, become is your simple form. Became is your past form, and then become is your past participle form. So there's a chat. Sir, nasa PPT po yung screen. Okay. In the PowerPoint, not in, okay. You're not seeing it. All right, new share. All right, I'm sorry guys if you have not seen what I was referring to. So this will be your activity. As I've mentioned, arise. The past form is arose. The past participle is arisen. Awake. The past form is awoke. The past participle is awaken. Be. The past form is was or were. The past participle is been. Bear. The past form is bore, B-O-R-E. The past participle is B-O-R-N-E. Beat, again, as I've mentioned, there are words in the English language such as beat and become. Their past forms are different. Beat, beat, become, became. But their past participles, beaten, become. They will become, they will retain the original form, or sometimes you will add en. So there are also words like cut. Cut is the present form. Cut is the past form. Cut is also the past participle form. Same goes with this. Bet, bet, bet. Bite. The past form of bite is bit. The past participle of bite is bitten. So this will be your activity. Don't worry. At 4 o'clock today, I will also share the answer key. Okay, haba, ang dami, oh. All right, so you have to. This is just a review. When I was in first year high school, this is exactly what I was introduced to. So this is just a recap of everything. And then I want you to correct the 20 tense errors in this essay. And then I want you to supply with the sentence structure. So you have activities, but I will also provide the answer key later. All right, so don't worry. So that will be the end of our discussion today. So people, please ask me anything if you have questions. Ask me anything on our chat here on Zoom. You can ask me, you can unmute yourself if you have any questions. Right now, I will be waiting for you if you have questions. Shaira, Jocelyn, Sheena, Almira, Jojo, do you have questions? Anyone? None?
Sir, hindi po related sa topic today, pero may coaching po ba today?
Please refer to your respective GCs because for coaching, I will be making some announcements.
Okay, sir. Thank you po.
Okay, would that be all your questions? Sheena, you don't have any questions with your grammar?
Sir, wala naman po.
Okay, that's nice. Shaira, Jocelyn, do you have questions? Almira, Jojo, do you have questions? All right, so if you guys don't have any questions or concerns, that will be the end of our Grammar 3 lecture. Thank you for participating for today's class. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. So please wait for your announcements because most of our lectures this week will be uploaded on replay, especially your, do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? I will also be adding 2 more sample essays because do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages type of question, as I've mentioned during my live lecture 2 weeks ago, is what's going to appear more commonly as compared to other questions. And I was not wrong. One batch of students who took the examinations in Pampanga, the question was, do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? I had a couple who took the examinations in Middle East and they had the same question. Do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? So that is very essential. That's why we will be repeating that lecture tomorrow. So guys, that is the end. Have a nice day. God bless. And I wish you all the luck in the world. Bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you po.